Ha ha! We're live on Final, guys. I don't know why I did that, but we're going with it. I am your host, Jason Brant, this week. Unfortunately for all of you, I am, of course, joined by Hunter Shea. What's going on?
What's up, mother?
And I like his hat, Jack Campisi.
I want my mommy.
I don't know after this movie. I don't know if anybody does. That was. Anyway, before we get into all that, there was something I wanted to bring up with you guys about the movie theater I was in, and I'll just save it for the discussion of the movie. Something with this Regal drives me nuts. Just remind me when it comes up. Anything you guys want to share before we jump into the news?
What are we discussing this week?
That movie Mother.
Okay.
No one's seen it, so we're going to be talking to ourselves about it.
Mother! You're right. The box office was not good.
It was terrible. This movie bombed so poorly.
And I'm glad, because most of this world is full of stupid people, and this isn't for stupid people. Laying it right out there.
Yeah, if you're a fan of Transformers, you're probably not going to like this movie. We'll just put it that way.
No, you're not.
Alrighty. Like I said, I thought there was something, but I guess not. And so now I'm just burning time. Jack, please help me.
All right, I got some interesting stuff for us this week. It's not all bad news like last week. So last week we talked about It, and I've got It news for you.
More It?
More It. Actually, yep, more It. There's going to be a director's cut with extra 15 minutes on the Blu-ray.
We should do director's cuts of our show.
I hear the director's cuts of our show, and it is not good.
Well, if we continue recording, if we recorded before and after.
No, our careers would be ruined if that shit ever got out.
Social services would be out my door.
Anyway, there's going to be about 15 more minutes for hardcore fans, including a very funny extended version of the Losers Club at the Quarry, which, as you recall, is them in their underwear. So Hunter will be happy about that. After the spitting contest, it escalates into something that is completely weird and irrelevant to the steam, but is so funny. Jack Grazer, who plays Eddie, does something that is completely bonkers. On top of that, it seems like poor Stanley Uris has had a bar mitzvah scene cut, but that too will hopefully make it to the director's cut. There's a great scene, and it's a bit of a payoff that Stanley Uris plot, which at the bar mitzvah, where he delivers a speech against all expectation. It basically is blaming all the adults of Derry for all the accidents and child disappearances, and has a great resolution. So, some cutout stuff from It. How do you feel about that?
I think it sounds really interesting.
Oh, I don't know. I'm down, man. I love that movie. Bring it on. Anything more, I'm in.
There's also a rumor. The guy who played Pennywise says that they explored some stuff about the Pennywise before he was Pennywise that might show up in the next movie. That they think they filmed some stuff, or they worked out some stuff that might be like him before he was a clown way back in the 1700s or whatever. So they alluded to they might go into Pennywise's backstory a little bit. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know enough about the book to know
That's
if that was
what the
part
world
of
is
it.
craving. I don't even remember what Pennywise. What was he before, Jason? Do you remember?
I muted myself because I'm an asshole. What was he before? What?
Before he was Pennywise, was he a sharecropper, a fur trader, a spice trader?
I remember he did some stuff where he burned down a building and killed a bunch of people, but there were pictures throughout where he was a clown, but I feel like there was something else, but it's been too long since I...
But was he like a guy that got possessed, or was he just a thing that took the form of a clown?
He's like a cosmic being. Like,
Okay.
Think Lovecraft kind of thing. In fact, his whole thing is his form can't be seen by people. Like, it would make you lose your mind if you saw it. So it is a clown, or it's a giant spider or whatever, because we just can't fathom what we're seeing, kind of thing.
Sheridan says he was in the Scarlet Letter, and I think he was the letter L.
He was a rebel L. All right. The next piece of news concerns the new Halloween. which Danny McBride is part of, coming from Blumhouse.
I'm so pumped for this.
And so we have now learned that Jamie Lee Curtis will be a part of the next movie, and that essentially it looks like they're going to go the first Halloween movie and then disregard everything. Halloween 2, and it's just going to be Halloween happened, and now this is happening, and everything else is alternate reality, and they're just going to pick up and start afresh, however many 30 years later.
Wait, so they're even going to ignore part 2, which takes place the same night?
I had heard originally that it was going to be Halloween 1 and 2.
That's what I'd heard.
One of the speculations from what I'm reading here is saying that they might just forget about the whole thing. I don't know. Either way, if it's 1 and 2, then everything else, which to me is fine. 1 and 2 is all I really pay attention to anyway. So, Jamie Lee's back.
I hope it's better than the last time she was back in a Halloween movie.
This is Blumhouse, man. I'm in.
I didn't know Blumhouse was doing this. All right, that's different.
Yeah. Blumhouse is doing it, and Danny McBride is part of the production team. So I'm giving it the benefit of that. I don't know how I feel about Jamie Lee Curtis coming back. Part of me feels like, okay, move on to something else, and another part of me says, okay, I guess that's the.
They're intrinsically tied, man.
If it's a direct sequel, then I'm interested.
Is Carpenter involved at all, or?
Let's hope not. What?
Who said that?
Huh?
John Carpenter will executive produce and serve as creative consultant on the film.
All right, so
he's getting a check.
Yeah, he has nothing to do whatsoever.
It's an honorary seat at the table.
Give me a carton of Marlboros.
Oh my God!
Make him kill people.
Maybe Jamie Lee Curtis will do another dance like she did in True Lies.
Hey,
I don't know that would have the same impact now, 24 years later.
Yeah. Speaking of Carpenter, we met Adrienne Barbeau, Jack and I, over the weekend. His ex-wife.
Oh.
She was very sweet. She was with Tom Atkins, and they were on a panel, and they talked about smoking weed at her house for Thanksgiving. I think it was like the late 70s, early 80s, and he went out for a pizza because he was so stoned he was starving. And
yeah, this was at the CT Horror Fest in Connecticut. It's pretty cool.
Wait, you met Adrienne Barbeau and Tom Atkins?
Jason, you will love this. They had this. The thing was at a ice rink, so the whole show was on the ice. And they had boards and they had everything set up. And we got there. I got there so early to set up the table. You could see your breath. It was so cold. So me and Tim Meyer were going to walk out to go to the bathroom, and you had to go through the penalty box. As we're going out, Tom Atkins walking in, and he hits like the wall of cold, and he goes, "Fucking shit! That's motherfucking cold. I'm out of here." And he just turned around and went and got a coat.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he was really cool, man.
How old is he now?
He's got to be in his mid-70s. He looks great.
He was funny. And he spoke, he projected the most. Adrian was hard to hear. We went to a panel that they spoke in, and then they were sitting at tables. He was good. I didn't actually talk to either one of them. You talked to Adrian, right?
I talked to Adrian, and I took a picture with her and the giant life-size replica of the monster from the Crate and Creep show. So it was good times.
Wow. Good times.
You guys got to let me know when this is next year. I will come up for that.
Yeah, it's cool. It's small, so I mean,
you're better off coming to Chiller in at the end of October in New Jersey.
Or if you wanted to, go home with a celebrity, as we saw one of my friends do, maybe this is the Connecticut Horror Fest is the thing to do.
Yeah, that's what I need.
If you want to go home with Sid Haig.
Exactly. If you went home with Sid Haig, your wife would just say, "God help you."
Well, I think the one in Chiller is maybe only 2 hours. The one in Chiller is maybe only 2 hours from me in Jersey, something like that. So that'd be easy.
A blast.
Yeah, cool. Chiller's a blast. You should go to that one. Okay, the best news of all. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
There's a new movie being made called Ouija House.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It is going to star Tara Reid, Mishka Barton, and Dee Wallace.
Are you kidding me?
Tara Reid is the headliner.
I smell something for So Bad It's Good coming on.
Screenplay needs Tara Reid. Is it Mishka Barton? How do I say it?
I think Mishka Bibble.
Tomato. Will star in Ouija House. Is it Ouija or Ouija? I can't pronounce anything in this.
Any way you want.
Supernatural thriller from director Ben Damari. There's a bakery up here called Damari's. Ouija House concerns a graduate student who, trying to finish the last of her research on a book project she hopes to help her and her down-on-her-luck mother, brings friends to a house with a dark past, where they soon unwittingly summon an evil entity with plans of its own. The screenplay is by Justin Hawkins, blah, 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 who cares? Here's the good stuff. Reed plays a character who has faced the evil house before, so she's the Van Helsing. Barton plays the niece of one of the owners of the house who knows about the mysterious past, and Wallace plays the struggling mother of the lead. Ouija House should be finished in late 2017. I smell Oscar.
I think first the movie is going to start in late 2017, end about probably 4 days later. And then they'll slap some bad CGI and finish it up.
The question is, will there be a pay-per-view time, or will this just go directly like to Netflix or Sci-Fi?
Yeah. Well, the only way I'm seeing it is if it goes direct to Netflix or Sci-Fi.
So the question is, are we going to do a show on it?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I quit. I draw the line there.
This sounds amazing.
I'm sorry. If you make me go see something like Mother, you gotta sit through this.
We had to watch The Greasy Strangler because of you, all right? We can watch some terror.
Let me tell you, Greasy Strangler, at least, there's a movement. I saw 2 people with Greasy Strangler patches at the Horror Fest.
Yeah, and one of them was Tim Meyer. That doesn't count.
No, Tim Meyer didn't wear his Greasy Strangler shirt that he publicized on social media.
I know.
He did wear a Dawn of the Dead shirt, though. I got to give him props for that.
Though not Diary of the Dead, his favorite. So I don't know what happened there.
So I end with Tara Reid news. You can't go anywhere but down from there.
No, you can.
Sharknado's own Tara Reid. So with that, let us go to our playlists, watch lists, whatever you call them.
I like playlists.
Right. Well, before we do, we got another review on Netflix, and we keep getting comments on YouTube and people sharing on Twitter and Facebook. So all of you, particularly people in the chat right now, appreciate it. Keep it up. And when we start our Final Guys sex cult, you will all be high priests and high priestesses.
And to reward you, you won't have to have sex with any of us.
You'll be the only ones. Everyone else is a requirement. You're just grandfathered in.
We'll save you.
I'm looking for something in a cult. And I'm thinking, do you have anything in a sex cult?
And I want one with lots of STDs. Well, look no further.
Hey, you found us. All right.
What's it going to take for me to get you in this sex cult today? Is it STDs?
Maybe we could come up with our own kind of e-meter thing like Scientology does, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God almighty. We could do a whole... You know, Jack, Monster Man, we should dedicate a show to Scientology.
That's scarier than anything else we've talked about.
Exactly.
Enjoy getting sued.
Screw them. They'll enjoy getting nothing of the nothing I have.
All right, Hunter. What crap did you slog through this week?
This week I read Dianetics.
Battlefield Earth.
You know, he has the record for most published books in the world.
He was a beast writing. Yeah, he was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I think he was probably on tons of speed. Okay, let's wash the Dianetics away. I went back a little old school this week. First, because I was feeling sad about Tobe Hooper. It's still affecting me. I put on Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, which is the one with Jordana Brewster and Diora Baird and Arlie Ermey from Full Metal Jacket fame.
What is your major malfunction, Private Pile?
Oh my God. He was so good in this movie. I know that people are divided on this one. Look, to me, it's strange family, that house, people wander on, bad shit happens. There wasn't really full nudity. It was glimpses. I think it's a cool movie. It's I hadn't seen it since it originally came out. It looks really good. And normally I don't go for that. So like the original TCM, I love the grittiness that really gives it that creepy. This looks slick. Leatherface is enormous. I mean, he is like Jason and Michael Myers put together. I don't know who played him in the movie, but he is gigantic. And to me, a little scarier. There wasn't that whole. They left out a lot of that cross-dressing aspect of it, and he was just a killing machine. So I guess there wasn't much nuance to his character. But as far as just a good old slasher movie, it was cool, and it was gory when it had to be gory, and the girls were beautiful when they had to be beautiful, and it was fun when it had to be fun.
So in this new politically correct climate that we live in, what would be the gender identification of Leatherface?
He'd be, oh my God, LGBTQI.
Just like LF. Should we just add LF at the end to the end of that? I identify as Leatherface, and when I go in to use a bathroom, I kill people with a chainsaw.
He'd be LC for leather crotch. It's so stupid. But anyway, that movie was cool. And then I said it before, Nightmare on Elm Street. My wife and I watched Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors.
Yes. Yes.
Another one I hadn't seen in a long time. That was for years, my wife and I, because she's had problems with her knees. In fact, she has brand new knees, thanks to last year, a surgeon giving her new walking knees. But for years, when she was having problems, and she would say, "Oh, my legs are killing me," I'd always go, "In my dreams, I can walk." And that became like a private joke with the two of us. And like in public, people are like, "Oh my God, he's making fun of this poor woman who obviously can't walk." It's a fun movie. It's not as good as I remember it to be. I mean, there were so many holes, and it is so dumb. But it's dumb fun. And it was for me, it was a nostalgic trip. And you get to see Patricia Arquette, and I think that was her first movie. You realize why Heather Langenkamp didn't have a big acting career, because she is just dreadful. She's a wonderful woman. I shared a booth next to her for 3 days, 1 year. She's a very nice person. As an actress, boy. And Freddie, I mean, this is when you got like this is the beginning of the full-on cut up wise ass Freddy. There's some great the cool imagery in this is just all throughout. Like, I love that scene where he's got the kid sleepwalking and he's in that bell tower and Freddy just cuts the veins in his arms and he drops. So I thought that was really cool. So it's fun. It's still fun. I don't know if I used to think that was my favorite one. Now I got to go back and watch the original, because I like 3, then 1, and the rest you can throw away. But now I got to watch 1 again, because I think maybe 1 might be better. What do you think?
I freaking love Dream Warriors so much. It's aged, but it's
right.
Nightmare on Elm Street 1 is like the scarier movie, and then 3 is the more fun movie, and so I like them as companions.
I would love to redo it, because if they're going to be Dream Warriors, actually be warriors. As soon as they would pulled up their power, they were dead within 2 minutes.
I love Kincaid.
Freddy, what's that?
I always liked 3. It's a fun movie. It's definitely got a lot of comedy stuff in it that was a tonal shift to the series.
Tongue-tied.
And I can see why that would be people's favorite, because of how fun it is. But the first one is an objectively better made film, but doesn't have like the comedy and stuff. So
right.
But they're all better than number 2.
I saw that in the theater when it came out.
Me too.
And my God, the crowd went bananas when Freddy first comes around that corner.
Yeah.
Oh.
Did you see 2 when it came out?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
What was the crowd reaction to the bedroom dancing sequence?
Well, I watched it at the Blue Oyster Bar, and we had a great time that night.
I did not see 2 in the theater, because I heard how bad it was.
I think I took my wife to see it when we were dating. I think I took her to see 2.
The only good part of that whole movie is, "You're all my children."
Yeah. Okay, the last thing I watched is a TV series that is on USA. It's starring Jessica Biel, who was in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, The Sinner. And I saw some coming attractions for this, and I was kind of intrigued. I didn't know if it was I initially went in thinking it was some kind of paranormal show. It's not. She is a woman who is living kind of this drab life, and she's sitting at the beach with her husband and her little son. Sees a guy and another girl at the beach, and they're kind of like, he's pawing at her and stuff. And Jessica Biel just grabs a little like paring knife and stabs the guy to death in front of everybody. That's the very first episode. And then she's in jail, and Bill Pullman, who is brilliant as the police detective who's he thinks there's more to the story than just some woman freaked out and stabbed this guy. So he's trying to figure out, get her to go back in her mind to figure out what got her to this point, what made her do this. There's tons of explicit sex in this. The sexual overtones in this movie are extreme. There are threesomes, there's incest, there's Bill Pullman is addicted to being dominated, and he's got this Zoftig woman who just like tries to break his arm and strangle him and stuff while she's banging him. It's kind of crazy. It's slow burny, it's dark, it's quiet, but it's really interesting. And the last episode's on tomorrow night, so I can't wait. It's a closed-ended series. It's 8 episodes. Jessica Biel looks like Carly Simon from 1975. She's sporting a supercuts haircut. She looks terrible, but she's really good.
This is The Sinner?
The Sinner, yeah. Check it out. You can catch it on demand on USA.
I've been very curious about that.
Yeah, but it's not paranormal, so I got fooled there. But I got sucked in regardless.
I haven't seen her in much stuff lately, so when I saw that, I was kind of interested because I think she's a good actress.
Yeah, she hasn't done much of anything for years, so this is a nice... And she's the producer, too. And it's getting mostly good reviews. Some people don't like the pace of it.
Cool.
But I dig it. On to you, Jackie Poo.
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
Sure, I'll go. Well, first of all, I also went old school. I went back to 1990 and watched the original Flatliners in preparation for the upcoming remake.
Oh, Julia Roberts' hair was resplendent.
I've got something to say about Julia Roberts. First of all, when this movie came out, I wanted nothing to do with it. This was way too mainstream. I don't want like feathered hair, Kevin Bacon and Kiefer Sutherland in a horror movie. So I saw this like once, dismissed it, and on a rewatch enjoyed it nostalgically much more than I saw this and forgot about it when it originally came out. Watching it now, I loved it with all the feathered hair. What's his name? Joel Schumacher made this movie. Mm-hmm. Before I cared who Joel Schumacher is. Watching it now, you could totally tell it's Schumacher. All the neon lights in the background, like you could see Batman and Robin.
It's being pure formed. Schumacher.
Yeah. And the clunky dialogue. Kiefer Sutherland is just nobody. He's like the George C. Scott of his generation. He got so angry. Now, here's the thing about Julia Roberts. I have never really cared about Julia Roberts. I've never thought, like, not that she's ugly or anything like that, but she's never done much for me. Going back and watching this, I'm like, oh, okay. She was actually really pretty, and I just was off my radar. She looks great in this movie.
Beautiful in that movie.
Yeah. Kevin Bacon's really good in it. Everybody else is kind of over the top and cartoony, but Kevin Bacon's actually like gives the best performance.
That's the movie I fell in love with Oliver Platt.
Oliver Platt's Oliver Platt. It's funny because you think of him as the fat guy, and he's not fat.
No, he was just a little husky at the time.
It's still a pretty lame movie, but it was fun to go back and watch, and it's on Shudder, so it
is.
I'm pretty sure it's on Shudder or Prime.
Oh, awesome!
I'm 100% with you. I like that movie, but it is not worth some of the people who go crazy over it. I just don't get it. It's not that great. It's not bad. It's just not that great. It's a good movie to get a remake, actually.
And for a wide release movie that came out in 1990, I mean, horror movie, that's about as good as you were going to get back then.
It's literally more fun to watch now, nostalgically.
Shoemaker actually has a better horror film, and it's called 8mm, but that's for another day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We should do a show on that.
That's a good movie. God, now I want to do next week's on 8mm.
God damn it!
I watched another movie that Hunter Shea will be intimately familiar with, Willow Creek, which I think is from last year.
A couple of years ago.
Bobcat Goldthwait's found footage Bigfoot movie. This is either Shudder or Prime.
Or Showtime. It's like it's on 24 hours a day.
I've never seen it on. Well, I don't have Showtime. I had never watched this. I watched the other one, Exists, which was pretty good. And this movie is mediocre. It was more interesting. I actually wanted to talk to you, Hunter, about this because this is like your bread and butter. Mm-hmm. The place that they go to, which I guess is near where the Patterson film was done.
Right.
Like, that looks like it would be a fun place to go, like, get T-shirts and take pictures and stuff.
Oh, my God. When they were going through the town?
Yeah.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it was funny. That first third of the movie, there was some funny... You could tell a comedian was writing the dialogue.
Yeah. Then it becomes the Blair Witch Project. And that basically they're sitting in a tent most of the time, listening to things. And it's essentially this.
Well, yeah, because I heard him say that he put them in that tent and didn't tell them what he was going to do. And he had them really tired and really hungry and cold and stuck them in there and just fucked them up. And her reactions, she was really freaked out. So it's
not the most entertaining thing I've ever seen. So
yeah, it was all right. For a Bigfoot movie, jeez.
I describe that scene as straight out of Family Guys. They keep doing the joke over and over and over. And at first it's scary, and then it annoys the shit out of you. And then at the end it starts getting a little freaky again, and then it annoys you.
And then you fight a guy in a chicken costume.
and then the ending, the ending of this movie, I would say read Swamp Monster Massacre by Hunter Shea over watching this movie because it's got a comparable but not as good. This movie's not as good as the climax of Swamp Monster Massacre.
There is nothing like the climax of that book. I promise you.
So, I mean, if you're looking for curiosity's sake, it's worth a look, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch that. I'd watch Exists if you're looking for a Bigfoot found footage movie. And then the cream of the crop this week, I watched from 1973. I found it on Amazon Prime, Satan's School for Girls.
Oh, is that what
Kate Jackson?
Kate Jackson, that's right.
This is before Charlie's Angels. It's a made-for-TV movie by Aaron Spelling. Here's what I didn't realize. Cheryl Ladd is also in this movie. So this is young Kate Jackson, who's like 8 feet tall with long hair, the best she's ever looked.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cheryl Ladd, who is just a freaking goddess. And then everybody else in the movie. Like, you can see why these two were on Charlie's Angels. Like, the rest of there are a bunch of attractive women in this movie who just you don't even notice them. These two are so pretty.
They're stunning.
And again, having been a kid watching this kind of made-for-TV stuff, it was so fun to go back. There was like the reaction shot and then would fade into commercial kind of stuff, and then they would come back. A lot of especially ABC, you could see like some of the character actors that would be bad guys in Charlie's Angels later on, or in a countless other 70s shows. They're like, oh, that guy. And typical of made-for-TV movies, not a whole lot happens until like the last 15 minutes of the movie. And when stuff does happen, it's more just like a reaction shot of somebody being hung or something like that. But it's like an hour and 20 minutes or something like that. It was a total like grainy old copy. It's on Amazon Prime. It was definitely a fun go back. And it's like Cheryl Ladd before she was actually Cheryl Ladd. I think it's like her maiden name in it. So it was worth seeing those two together again. And the Satan-y ending is definitely fun.
Yeah, I own that. I gotta dig that out. It's somewhere in my house.
I'm on a little Satan kick right now. Get the
Satan.
Yeah. So next few weeks, I'm gonna keep going back to my 70s satanic cult movies. I think that's what you guys have. Jason, have you even heard of Satan's School for Girls? There was a remake with Shannon Doherty and Kate Jackson, like in the 90s, that I might try and track down. I saw it once.
I have not seen either one, but I have heard of it. Yeah.
That's where we used to hang out. Trying to start a sorority.
All right, is that it?
That's it for me.
Okay, I'll try to blast
2
through
minutes.
mine quickly here. We're going like really long.
Oh, I forgot to mention. Spence mentioned how do we mention that we don't talk about Dokken for Nightmare on Elm Street 3, for God's sakes.
Screw Doc, and they sucked.
No, screw you. You suck.
Shut up. You're out.
Look, I guarantee neither of you ever owned a Dokken tape. We're going back to the 80s.
You wrote about Dokken in a book once.
No, Docking. Docking.
Docking. It's different.
Way different.
I didn't
Somebody,
know the tape,
go ahead. Google docking sometime. And
Jason knows all about it. 2 penises, 1 cut, 1 nut. Enjoy.
yeah, there you go.
I could go into a lot of stories. I'll just put it that way. All right, let me blast through mine here real quick. I watched a movie called Murder Party. I believe this was on Shudder. This was directed by Jeremy Saulnier. I never know how to pronounce his name. He's the guy who did Green Room, Blue Ruin. I think he had another one in there.
Colors.
He's kind of a up-and-coming guy in the genre, obviously. Green Room was a little bit of a hit. Blue Ruin, people really liked. Murder Party.
Did he do Green Inferno? You were doing all these color things. I went with Green Inferno. Fuck, I'm sorry. Whatever.
Anyway, this is a horror comedy, super low budget, but very fun. I got a kick out of it. There was, right in the middle, there was a part where a whole bunch of people took drugs that was a little slow, but otherwise it was a lot of fun. It's basically a guy finds an invitation on, I think it was on the ground, to a Halloween party, and he puts together this ridiculous night costume out of cardboard and goes to it. And it turns out all these people that are at this party were just trying to get someone to come so they could murder them. But they're all super eccentric artists who are trying to win a grant by figuring out the craziest way to kill someone or something like that. And it's obviously a parody on people who are in film school or art school. It's really shitting on everyone who's in it. It's fun. It's a solid little tiny low budget movie that was, I could see why he started getting more money for movies from this. It was solid. This is the kind of movie I like to find, something early from a guy like this. So it was Murder Party on Shudder. Then I watched the classic Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978. I watch it every year around this time in the build up to Halloween. It's one of my top 5 horror movies. The ending is one of the best endings to a horror movie you're ever going to see. Donald Sutherland kills in it. Jeff Goldblum kills in it. It's just a brilliant film. When you go back and watch it, if you've already seen it before, if you really pay attention, particularly at the beginning, in almost every scene, there's something crazy happening in the background. Someone's being chased. There's a car accident. There's a dog barking like crazy. So you can actually see civilization starting to crumble in the background while the main characters are just going through their day. It's just an incredibly well-made movie. If you haven't seen it in a while, go back and check it out. It is the shit.
I was actually thinking about putting it on my October watch list, so I'll definitely do that.
It's so good. Oh,
if you had to describe it in 2 words, how would you describe it?
really interesting.
I don't know. I might describe it differently.
Isn't Leonard Nimoy in that?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He has
that's right.
a nice, creepy performance in it. It's very solid. Then, based on your glowing recommendation, Jack, I watched Heidi on Amazon Prime. Your review summed it up. Don't. Don't. I struggled. That's all I'm going to say. Go back and listen to Jack's. He nails it. And then I stumbled across a film, also on Shudder, that I had seen years ago. And I remembered liking it a lot, and I could remember a couple specific scenes, but a lot of it kind of escaped me, so I want to watch it again. And that was Lovely Molly from 2011, which was directed by Eduardo Sanchez, who is most famous for doing Exists and this little tiny film called The Blair Witch Project.
I think Jack likes that.
Yeah. Lovely Molly is basically about a newlywed woman who moves into her family's home after her parents have died, and her husband's a truck driver, and she just rapidly starts to develop severe signs of mental illness. She's a recovering drug addict. She's hearing sounds in the house. She's trying to record them to prove she's not crazy. And things just spiral very, very quickly in this movie. And the woman who plays Molly, what is her name? Gretchen Lodge. Very brave performance. She's got some pretty crazy scenes in this, and she just nails it. I don't know that I've even seen her in other things, but she's amazing in this. I really like this movie. I'm surprised more people don't talk about it. And on IMDb, it only has a 5.3 out of 10, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if it's because the movie sort of leaves things open to interpretation on how you want to see the way it goes, but I highly recommend this. So
Is Molly actually lovely, or is it in the eye of the beholder?
Molly has a kind of Southern Belle quality, Southern Belle rednecky quality. She's got her own thing
Get
going
her
on.
done.
It's a good movie. That
Have you
surprised
seen it? You
me.
liked it?
Yeah, I did. I saw it. I mean, a couple of years ago, I think.
I think
really
Eduardo
good.
Sanchez is very underrated as a filmmaker. Everyone wants to give him shit for the Blair Witch Project for some reason, even though that movie was revolutionary. People, I think, look back on it now and view it through the lens if it came out now about it being boring and a found footage movie, but the guy created the freaking genre. So,
And he gave me the best Bigfoot movie ever, so he's a hero in my book.
I've never seen Lovely Molly. It's on my to-do list, but I'm glad you're endorsing it because I've always felt like it doesn't look like it's that good.
I really like it. Again, it's another one of these movies that very clearly has a low budget. There's not a lot of actors and actresses in it, but the people who are in it are cast well. It's paced quickly. I like it. It's a solid film.
Cool.
All right. That's all I've got for the week. So before we get into this, I want to tell everyone this is going to be a different kind of review. We're only going to talk for about 5 minutes about the movie before we jump into spoilers because it is impossible to do any kind of a semblance of a review for this movie without getting into spoilers. If you don't give a shit, hang tight because this is going to be an interesting discussion. I think a really, really interesting discussion, I think.
I don't know. I don't think Jack, you can't see the chat, right?
I go over so often. What's going on over
So
there?
there's a drinking game going on, so
We're trying to get
helping
everybody
people drunk.
shit-faced.
Oh, really?
Yes.
What
That's
can
why
I
we keep
do
repeating
to...
ourselves.
Jack,
anyway,
you have to say,
That's
"Oh my
really
god."
interesting.
You have to
oh
say,
my
"Oh
God,
my god."
really?
There
You know what's
Oh,
my
guys.
favorite part of Hot for Teacher? When he goes, "Oh my God."
I hope you people are keeping up on your shots. All right, so this
They may be
movie
dead.
is Mother with an exclamation point.
At a
Lowercase
small m.
Yeah.
Small M.
Directed by Darren Aronofsky, who is a very, very, really interesting filmmaker. I'll just put it that way. He's done a lot of stuff. Some of his stuff they're my favorite movies. Before, you know what? Who wants to try to describe this without doing spoilers? Hunter, it's on you.
Okay.
10 seconds, go.
Javier Bardem is a poet who lives with his young wife who's trying to put the house together that he grew up in because it burned in a fire. Strange people start to come in their house and everything falls apart.
There you go.
There you go.
It was advertised as a home invasion movie, and it is absolutely not. Not even close. So
Well,
if you're expecting that.
Kind of is. Not just what you would think. It's the
Yeah.
ultimate home invasion movie.
Shut up.
It is.
Boy.
Shut
How much more can you hope get invaded?
Shut
I mean, Jesus
All right.
Christ.
So here's what we're going to do. We're just going to kind of talk about our overall impressions of the movie, what we thought, if we liked it, if we didn't, if we'd recommend it, whatever. Maybe what you thought of the performances, and then we'll jump into spoilers. Jack, hit me with what you thought of Mother.
I will say this. This movie was not for me. I'm going to be kind. As I'm watching this movie, I said, here's a movie where there are going to be some people who think this is a great artistic piece of work and are going to delve into it in conversation. And there's people like me who felt like, okay, would you get on with this? This movie just kept going. It got repetitive. It's pretentious. It's full of itself. It's heavy-handed. And I actually almost got up and walked out not because I was disgusted by it or anything. I was getting bored. And then after like an hour and a half of this movie, they get to the third act, which is very interesting and well shot. But I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on in this movie, but I actually didn't really care. I kind of got the gist of what was going on. But when the credits went up, I was like, I can't believe I just spent money on this movie. Knowing, though, that it's an interesting piece of film with great performances and a lot of well done filmmaking things in it. But I just was like, not my cup of tea. I was wondering about you two, because I'm like, we could all be in here and hate this movie, or we could be fighting over this is the greatest movie ever, not And I don't have a problem, I think, if somebody really liked this movie. But just for me, I was like, nope, no thanks.
Hunter.
I took my mother to see Mother. I thought it would be, and plus her and I always go see J-Law movies together. And we saw it last night. We do. We are J-Law fans, mother effer.
Mother effer.
I love this movie. I thought it was brilliant. To have a movie this far left, right of center that gets a general release by a big time director starring the biggest actress in the world nowadays. I love it, and I love the fact that people hate it. I think it's awesome. It's strange, but it makes you think. I haven't had a movie made me think this hard in years. I think it looks beautiful. I think Jennifer Lawrence was amazing. She was in every scene. I mean, that camera was glued on her for over 2 hours, and either you saw her expressions or you saw what she was seeing, her point of view. And it was dizzying. You were bored. I was so tense, my guts were churning. I mean, I just kept going, what's next? What's next? What's next? And it was the most tense I've been in a long time. I was so wound up in it. And my mommy was the same way. My mommy loved it too. So I'm the total opposite. I loved it. In fact, it might be one of my favorite movies I've seen this year.
I side with you much more than I do with Jack. Although as soon as I left, I thought, I don't know that I can ever recommend this movie to almost anybody, because most people are not going to be happy with it. They're just not. This is not a movie made for most people.
That's the beauty of it. It's a treasure, so you don't have to share it.
It's probably the hardest thing that anyone's going to... hardest film Aronofsky's done for people to get into. You can just watch The Wrestler and just see and understand what's going on and get everything, and just watch the performance and understand what's going down. And The Fountain is kind of one of his harder ones. This one is super difficult, and I have a feeling most people would leave the theater having no concept of what the hell just happened, which it turned out was me. My interpretation was completely wrong. But this is a tough people for a movie. It's all allegory. There was no music. I don't know if you guys noticed. There's no score in this movie. It's crazy that he managed to pull it off for that long. Almost all the shots are handheld. Most of them are close up. They're either, it's like you said, they're either her face, or they're over her shoulder, or they're her point of view. That's pretty much all he did in the whole movie, which made it tense if you were into it, and probably made it boring if you weren't. Right. What else had I written down here? There was so much going on. I was just trying to scribble notes. Doing her point of view was a weird thing too, because in horror movies that usually doesn't work. But in this movie, I felt like it worked. There's a whole list of reasons I get into why I don't think it works in horror movies usually. But in this, it did for me. Oh, this is such a hard movie for me to talk about, particularly not with spoilers. But I will say this. The filmmaking is absolutely incredible, what he managed to do. That doesn't mean story-wise you're going to like it. I have a feeling 90% of people probably won't. But the way he made this movie was unbelievable to me. There was so many things going on that, as I thought about it about an hour later, I just couldn't believe I didn't get it.
Right.
Until later on. So
this is a movie that's going to have ripples that will just keep going out further.
I'm dying to see it again, because I know now, knowing what the movie's about, I have a feeling when I watch it the second time, it's going to be like, holy shit, I can't believe I didn't get all this stuff. So, Jack, on our sliding scale, where'd you put it?
You said something interesting. Whether you like the movie or not, calling it a treasure, one man's treasure is another man's garbage. Mm-hmm. It's hard to recommend this movie because you don't know how somebody is going to react. So I think the best you can do with this would be, like, if you want to be part of the conversation and you're ready for a movie that doesn't have real answers and it's going to, what the WTF kind of thing, and you want to be a part of the conversation and see what the hype is about, see it. But I don't think you can't really go on somebody's recommendation. You're going to either love it or hate it, or it's hard. So I can't say don't see it, because it's an interesting movie. At the same time, like I said, first of all, it is not a horror movie, and part of the problem, again, yet another movie where they sold it as a horror movie. because if they had marketed it, would have it's a metaphor. Nobody would have gone to see it. So when you go in expecting Rosemary's Baby, like they were painting the picture of, it's nothing like that. So again, we shouldn't even be talking about this on this podcast. It wasn't a horror movie at all. It showed some blood, but other than that, so I'd say if you're curious about it, it's a well-made movie, great performances. For a film buff's sake, see it, but be prepared. It's not an easy movie, and like I said, for me, I thought this would have made a better 20-minute student film than it was a full-length feature.
Hunter.
Well, naturally, we're going to be opposite here, but that's all right. Like Jack said, one man's treasures, another man's trash. I actually thought most of the answers are there. In fact, and I confirmed some of them. And the beauty is you can actually come up with some of your own answers. And I think it is a horror movie. A horror movie is about something that evokes creeping dread and just revulsion at times. And there are some scenes in this that are some of the most fucking revolting things I have seen in a movie, probably since Antichrist or Martyrs. I mean, there are a couple of scenes in here that pull that out of me, that kind of emotion, that kind of absolute revulsion. So to me, it is a horror movie. It's a different kind of horror movie. It doesn't follow the formula. And anything that's polarizing, I love polarizing movies, books, people, love it all. So, I mean, that's why I really embrace this. But there's a concept behind this movie that my mind is still, I don't know if you can hear it. It's like all the little gears are churning like crazy. And I can't wait to get into spoilers to kind of delve deeper in it. So I love it. See it for yourself. Don't recommend it to anybody else. Just enjoy it as your own little, either something you love or something that you hate. But give it a shot.
I have no idea how to recommend this movie. If you're weirdos like us and you're going to watch everything anyway, of course you're going to see it. If you don't like if you thought It Comes at Night was too artsy and pretentious, then do not see this movie because your head's going to explode.
I want to talk about It Comes at Night next, so continue.
If you are a big fan of Aronofsky's films, particularly some of his more not obscure but harder to understand things, then this is going to be right up your alley and you're going to love it. The performances are the shit. The filmmaking was incredible. The storytelling is something I'm going to go into with spoilers because so much of this is allegory versus just a standard storyline that I think a lot of people are going to hate it. So
yeah, where do you go on it? Sorry.
I want everybody to watch it, and I have a feeling most people are going to hate it. Would I recommend most people go to the theaters? No. If you're an Aronofsky fan like I am, 100% see it in the theater. Otherwise, you might want to wait till it comes out on demand. So, we were going to do this really short. We ended up talking for like 15 minutes already.
Yeah.
We haven't even gotten into the meat of the movie.
This episode's going to go long.
It's going to go a little long. There's just too much to talk about with this.
Okay.
So, if you haven't seen it, or you don't want it spoiled, get the hell out now because we are going to spoil everything we can figure out about this movie right now. This is going to be the most spoiler-heavy review we've done. All right. Peace out. What do you think?
Can I jump in about the It Comes at Night part? Mm-hmm. Because as I was watching this, I thought about that movie, and then I've heard other reviewers say the same thing. So It Comes at Night was a bait and switch. The previews, it looked like Evil Dead. It was going to be crazy. And again, that was like a pretty good movie. That wasn't really a horror movie. It was more like a survivalist thriller with a couple of horror elements. So the kind of the expectation versus what you got was kind of a letdown. But it's a pretty good movie, just not what you were expecting to see. But, after watching, I was like, oh, that was pretty good.
I think a bait and switch works against them because why would you take a major movie made by a major director and promote it as a fucking horror movie that people could wipe their ass with?
Because I think in both cases, if that gets more butts in the seats when they see, oh my god, that looks so scary, it looks like a zombie movie.
I think horror movies get less butts in the seat.
When you see Jennifer Lawrence is going to be in a Rosemary's Baby kind of movie, I think that's people going crazy. If you say, oh, she's going to be in a crazy art movie, if word got out about this ahead of time. So again, It Comes at Night. There was the difference between what I expected and what I saw. I wasn't thrilled. It took me a while to get over that. I think it's an okay movie that I was expecting. This, again, going in thinking I'm going to see one thing. Right before I went and I saw something that said, oh, this, if you're expecting answers from this movie, think twice. I'm like, okay, maybe I'm in for something different. And then that thing unfolded. So if you go in thinking that you're going to see a traditional horror movie, you're not seeing a traditional anything in this movie. But the letdown from what I was hoping to see versus what I saw was way worse with this than it was for It Comes at Night.
I hate the way they advertise some of these movies because so much of a viewing experience and enjoying it, particularly for me, is tied into what my expectations were versus what I get. And fortunately, I liked both It Comes at Night and this, even though I was expecting vastly different films.
Right.
Before I pass it off to you, Hunter, I'm going to throw this out there as a starting point. This movie is about, for the most part, Genesis. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, this movie is all biblical. It starts basically on day 6 of God creating the planet. And Javier Bardem is God. Jennifer Lawrence is Mother Earth. Ed Harris is Adam. And Michelle Pfeiffer is Eve.
And her kids are Cain and Abel.
Right. And from there, the movie grows into this giant biblical monstrosity that gets crazier and crazier. So go ahead, Hunter, and pass it on to you.
But they're also kind of like a poet and a muse. And so it's not just biblical. He's got to throw a whole bunch of other stuff on top of there, too.
Well, it's all about creation. There's literal creation of creating life and the world. And then there's the part of being creative. So they're running parallel to each other. The hole in the floor. When I first saw the hole in the floor, I'm thinking, that looks like a vagina. The bloody hole in the floor.
I thought the same thing, too.
Yeah, but you say that about everything you see.
Yeah, it's true. I know. Any hole. But there's a lot of plague stuff. So it's the toad that comes out of the room, and there is the blood. There are the people coming into their house that are the locusts, and they are plagues, and they are war, and they are famine. I mean, it's Genesis and a little bit of Exodus in there. There's a lot of religious allegory in there. I will tell you what I thought was brilliant about the movie is the entire movie is shot around Jennifer Lawrence, either in her face or in her perspective. And when it's all said and done, it has almost nothing to do with her. Mm-hmm. Because if you take a look at the other angle of it, of him being an artist, and he is an artist who has to build himself up and create to get what he wants, which is adulation, and then tear it all down to start all over again to create something out of pain. The movie is entirely about him. In fact, at the very end, you know that it's really not about her, because when the whole world builds up again, the girl who turns on the bed isn't even her. So he always remains the same, but the girl is different. So they got you invested in this woman and her plight. There we go. Snore. I wish I could come over there and kick your ass.
This is really interesting.
Oh my God. I love that idea of just.
I don't know.
So you just said, oh my God. Does other people have to drink because you said it or because I said it?
I don't know.
And I said really interesting.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Who has to drink?
I'll drink.
He'll drink, see?
No, so that was your interpretation more than the artist thing, correct?
When I first came out, it was. And then when I got home, I started thinking more. I looked stuff up. I'm like, oh my God, it is biblical, because I was trying to figure out where Ed Harris, Michelle Pfeiffer, when the sons came in, I thought Cain and Abel. Then I had to kind of go backwards and work my way back to in the beginning to put it all together.
But
I think it could be either.
My initial interpretation was he was an artist who basically destroyed this woman's life. I thought they were in hell. That was my thing. And I thought it was her hell through most of the movie. And then when we got to the end, I thought we were actually in his hell because
we were in my
all
hell.
The things he'd done. So that was kind of my interpretation. I don't want to go more into it because I developed this whole thing in my head about what this movie was. And when I found out that's not what it was, I was like, well, I'm going to write this story then because this is pretty good shit. But when I went home, I looked it up. Or not even, we went to a bar afterwards to get lunch, and I looked it up. I was like, holy shit. Okay. All right, now this makes sense. Because I couldn't figure some things out about what they were. And I just read a little bit about what it was about, and then I thought into some of the details, and things really started to click for me. And I loved it even more. Jack, when you finished seeing it, you were not happy with it. Did you go home and look things up to try to understand what the hell was going on, or did you just...
Yep,
bleh?
I did.
Did you like it more or less after? reading that?
Again, I thought like all this, like, oh, this meant this and that. I don't care. I've seen stuff like I was like, okay, I get the analogy. You know what's a better metaphor? And people talk about Game of Thrones and they're like, oh, do the White Walkers represent climate change? And people are like, I don't know. Whether it is or
what
not.
fucking snowflake says that one? Oh my god!
Do you ever read anything? That's like a huge prevailing theory.
I don't
about
read
Game
liberal
of Thrones.
rags, you son of a bitch.
And it's a great metaphor, whether they meant it or not. So right there, entertaining thing with possibly some overtones that mean something else. This, again, they could have done. This could have been a short story. I've gone every year. I go see the short films that get nominated for an Academy Award. If they had made this like a 20-minute, 30-minute thing, oh, that was pretty interesting to think about it that way. Nothing happens in this movie. They do the same thing over and over again. You know, she can't get out of the house. Everything's, what the hell's going on? For a while, I thought she was the Holy Spirit, the Father and Son, and she was the Holy Spirit. When I got home, they're like, oh no, she's Mother Earth. I'm like, okay, I just didn't have the name right. You know, I get it. But so reading it was interesting, and again, so much of what I thought people were coming up with the "It Comes at Night" thing. There was people who were reacting the way you guys were, and God's mean is just like, it just wasn't for me. The guy in Screen Junkie said the same exact thing. He's like, I almost got up and walked out, but not like in an angry way, just like in a, football's on. Maybe I should go.
Oh god, football's way worse than any movie. I like the fact that we had to think and we had to look stuff up in this movie, because most of the movies that we watch, you need about half a brain cell to put 2 and 2 together. So I liked kind of exercising that a little bit with a movie that is professionally done and professionally acted. I was thrilled over that.
So a lot of what I read was saying that Darren Aronofsky, who used to be married to Rachel Weisz, that a lot of the baggage of him as a artist, that he was throwing out baggage from his relationship with that, and so there was a lot of that, and that's a little bit of what I felt like. Oh, this is very indulgent of this filmmaker for me. So I appreciated some of what was being done, and again, the way they executed the filmmaking in that last act with all the stuff happening was very well done.
That was
and
incredible.
The guest appearance by Kristen Wiig was interesting. So
and William
like
McHattie, he was awesome.
Oh yeah, but
Or Steven.
It was interesting. But again, like as I was reading the theories, I'm like, okay, you know, now move on to the next thing. Like what it's not all earth shattering to me. Like, wow, it's a biblical analogy. I've seen a million things with.
You have lost your Christian underpinnings, Jack.
Well, do you watch A Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe? You get Christian analogy in that.
Exactly.
It's a better movie
for adults.
So you do bring up a point, Jack, that I completely agree with, in that this movie is so much about the allegory that I feel like the base 3-act structure of somebody just watching a movie not getting any of that is hampered significantly, because there's so much meaning in the things that are happening that don't make sense if you're just watching it as these are people.
Yeah, you can't watch it as these are people.
You can't do it, and that's kind of something I struggle with. That I enjoy movies where there's a lot of metaphor and a lot of allegory and things, but where you can just watch it as a movie, and then if you go back and look again, you can start seeing, oh, maybe this was for this and this was for that. It's actually kind of the issue I have with, say, District 9 versus Elysium. District 9, you can just watch it and it's this cool sci-fi film. When you watch Elysium, all you can see is this guy talking about borders and Mexicans and Americans. You know, that's terrible. What the whole movie's about, and it kind of ruins it. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my struggle with this. But having said that, I still found this movie incredible, and I'd written down a couple things. I didn't spend much time looking things up, so I thought I'd go over a few things here. Did you guys see the credits at the end? With everyone's name,
we had to pee.
Everyone's name was lowercase, except Javier Bardem's, which was him, was a capital H.
Oh, because he's God.
And that was my first kind of like, wait a minute, okay. And then after that, when you figure out he was God, when I first saw the wound on Ed Harris's back, I couldn't figure out what was happening with that. And then once I heard about the Genesis and the Adam and Eve thing, I was like, oh shit, that's where he took his rib and made Eve, and she showed up right after that.
Right.
And then Cain and Abel showed up. And then the crystal thing, I couldn't figure out what that was for a little while. But when Adam and Eve broke it, I was like, oh, that's the fruit from the Garden
because they
of Eden.
forbid them to touch that.
Exactly. And they went and did it, and it broke. And so I loved all that stuff. When Cain murdered Abel, that the way they set that up as if it was for inheritance, but it was just because he preferred Abel. Let's see what else. Oh, when they find out she's pregnant, and he finally finishes his story. And I'm watching this thinking, oh, this is when I was looking at it from an artist's perspective, and he kind of ruined his relationship with her, and now he's in hell and all that. I thought, oh, this was his masterwork he wrote, and this is what ruined their relationship. But then after hearing what it was about, I'm wondering if that was the New Testament, and that was when she was pregnant, that was Jesus, and he finished the New Testament, because that's when all the followers start coming, and things start getting crazier after that.
Right.
He'd finished the New Testament. Again, I didn't look all this stuff up, so I could be completely wrong with this. The other thing, obviously, when the child was carried, the child was Christ. I mean, there's no way I'm wrong about that, right?
Oh, and that was one of the horror scenes when they tear that baby apart and eat it. I mean,
watching
Jesus
that was
Christ,
rough.
you're not going to see anything more horrific than that.
So
ever.
I took the child being carried across the crowd as the Passion when Christ is being taken to the crucifixion. Was kind of how I took that. I don't know if that's what it was meant to be or not. And then when the kid is killed and eaten, that was communion.
Right.
And then the last thing I want to say, just to put this out there for everyone, this movie was so intense for me that you see Jennifer Lawrence's boobs and I couldn't even enjoy it because
that was my favorite part of the movie.
That beating
had
was the
fucked
worst
me up
beating.
so bad. I was like, I wish that wasn't even in there because it's just horrifying me more.
That beating was, oh my God, it was awful. I was flinching.
That was rough. That was rough, man.
It looked real.
Like only Aronofsky could have Jennifer Lawrence take her top off, and I'm like, please don't do that. Like,
exactly. I will tell you, the scene that got me was, and this is a testament to how good she is. When Javier Bardem writes his thing, and then she's going to make that big dinner for him, and then the crowd starts coming, and he's standing outside on the porch, and there's everybody as far as you can see, and she just looks at him. She goes, "I just want to be alone with you," and the way she said that, it broke my heart. It hit me really hard. I just looked at my mother, and she looked at me. And we both did like a little wow. And then when you think about it, it's Earth. It's Mother Earth going, why did you make these people? You have to rid the world. They do nothing but ruin this paradise that we've
That's pretty much what the whole movie was, yeah.
Right.
That people came and fucked everything up.
So why is Jesus Earth's baby?
Because he is. He's God, and he's came to Earth, and then he's God's baby. But he has to be born of Earth as a man, and then he's presented to the crowds to tear him apart, and oh God Almighty, it was awful.
Okay, whatever you say.
Well, that's why it's an allegory, not the birth of Christ story. So
Take it with what you will.
There was a bunch of other stuff after the baby had been born. She was in the bedroom, and there was a chime or a cymbal or something that every 4 or 5 seconds would go, and I didn't notice it till a couple.
The back door when that would chime, you mean?
No, I don't know what it was, but it was when she was holding the baby and he wanted to take it out to the followers.
Okay.
And he was just staring at her. There was a sound constantly every few seconds. And I'm wondering if that was something... I'd be curious to see the exact number. I have a feeling that's probably a biblical reference. And then she had kind of closed her eyes and dozed off 3 separate times. And then the baby was taken and killed. And I was wondering if that had something to do with the...
Well, that's the
resurrection.
That's the cock crowing 3 times, and when Jesus asked Peter and his disciples to stay awake, and they fell asleep 3 times, and
right, there was so much stuff like that in there that now knowing what the movie's about, I have a feeling I'm going to go back and watch it the next time and pick up way more of this stuff. But as soon as I read what it was about, I was like, oh, I wonder how much of that interplay between Javier Bardem and Jennifer Lawrence is tied into that.
Right.
And I haven't said it yet, you guys have, but man, Jennifer Lawrence in this movie was freaking incredible. When you consider the first half is just her looking confused and annoyed.
Right.
That's all she did.
Which got me confused in it. Like, that was the thing, because it was...
She was so passive.
Right, and you were so immersed in it. I was just going, get them the fuck out of the house. Like, who are these? So I was feeling
from when the second party started on, when things start to really unravel in the second and third act, she is absolutely incredible. and I understand a lot of people are going to hate this movie, but she should legitimately be up for an Oscar again for this. She crushed it.
Yeah, she did. Not many people could do what she did.
Yeah, like you said, she's in close up or hurts her perspective, and she's in like every scene, and she has a tough role to play because she's constantly the victim in this, and there's never a resolution for it. So, listen, they got A-list people for this movie, and that helped huge. You have Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer as your supporting characters, and Javier Bardem, who can go from loving to menacing on a dime. Great actors all around, but she looked great and she acted great.
When Pfeiffer and Harris broke that crystal and he screamed at them to get out, the whole theater jumped. Because he's got a very deep voice, and he's screaming like, Jesus Christ. Like, now you think, oh yeah, that's kind of like God getting pissed at you, and you run out of the movie theater. Because when he would get mad, he was terrifying.
There's so many little things in it too that I'm not sure I'll ever get. What was the potion thing she was drinking?
Nobody knows what that was.
I couldn't figure that out. Even when I heard what the story was, I'm like, well, what the hell was that?
Some elixir of life.
It was Alka-Seltzer.
Blop, blop, fizz.
It was simply product placement.
I thought there was so many other things in it that I...
It represented communion in the body of Christ. I'm sorry.
It did.
Doesn't mean that. I don't know. I can't back that up.
Well, the potion didn't, but the baby being killed did.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other things when she's getting upset and the screen.
What was the aspect ratio of that scene?
You know, it could have. I was so enraptured in that movie, it could have changed, and I wouldn't have noticed.
So
I'm going to take screenshots of that, by the way, you sons of bitches. Prove to you that I'm not losing my mind. I'm going to buy the Blu-ray just so I can screen cap it.
Don't ruin it with facts. Let's have our fun.
Yeah, there's so much stuff in it. There's the flood is in it. There's things I'm thinking were earthquakes. There was a lot of modernization of things that I'd have to go back and look at. Kristen Wiig's character, I'm not sure if she was a biblical character or if that was something with him talking about Hollywood and dealing with publicists. And
I think she was Gilly from Saturday Night Live.
There's this scene where she executes, I don't know, 6 people with shotguns, like back to back to back. It's
2 at a time.
Holy shit. Kristen Wiig isn't playing.
The war stuff, when stuff started exploding, and she's that was unreal. I've never seen anything like that. Never.
This was one of the first movies where an hour in, I turned to my wife and I said, I have no idea what the hell's going on in this movie. Like, I have no clue what in the hell is happening.
Right.
And I also went in with a different expectation. So I thought it was going to be a home invasion horror movie thing. And when I was looking up the time the movie was going to start, a review popped up, you know, in the Google News thing, you get like 3 stories in the headlines. And there was this hysterical review, I don't even remember what publication it was, that said this movie was torture porn. So I was expecting in the last act that all these people breaking into the house are just going to start torturing her or something.
Right.
And yeah, I went and read the review afterwards. It seems like somebody was really upset about all the biblical references.
Yeah,
and
you know.
Well,
that's why a lot of people aren't going to want to see it either, because nobody likes religion in their shit.
So where, Jack, you were getting bored, I kept waiting, and as things were ramping up, I was just waiting for this crazy torture scene to happen, and I was getting more and more nervous as the movie was going. So we had like completely different viewing experiences because I saw one headline before the movie started.
See, I saw one coming attraction, and I looked at no reviews. I'm getting to the point where I just want to go in as fresh as possible.
That's a good way to do it.
That's what I do.
But really, by the time they got to that climax, I did not care. I'm like watching. I mean, this is interesting, but I'm just going, okay, yep, that happened. Okay, like really did not care. Like when the credits rolled, I was like, okay, I'm done.
I'm so getting you the Blu-ray for Christmas.
Cool.
For Christmas.
I need a
Merry Christmas, Jack.
I get it.
The 3 of us should all go.
You're the one who actually hates God. Like, so this is funny that you're being this way.
God.
All right. I'm thinking the 3 of us should all go see one of these movies that's going to be polarizing together one time, and then just record our discussion like at a bar afterwards. See if we break out into fistfights.
That would be awesome. Or at least wedgies. There'd be wedgies going.
All right. I think that's pretty good. We covered as much of it as I could figure out. Anything else, Hunter?
Do you need a tissue? You almost came to tears, you.
Well, I almost came, but it wasn't the tears.
Yeah, I do need a tissue. No, I gotta watch it again. That's the thing. I have to watch this movie again, knowing what I know now, and I'll be happy. This is a movie I'll want to own. Believe it or not.
The Fountain, it was the third time I watched it that everything clicked. When I don't know if it's because I'm stupid or because the movie was that well made, but the first time I watched it, I was pretty confused. And the third time, it clicked, and I couldn't believe I'd watched this movie and hadn't got all of it, and I loved it. So I'll be curious to see if this kind of... Have either of you seen The Fountain?
No.
Nope.
Hugh Jackman and Rachel... Is it Weisz or Vice?
I think it's Vice.
Vice.
The two of them. It's an
Hollywood
outstanding
Vice.
movie. So anyway.
Hugh Jackman and Rachel Weisz.
He's Wolverine.
Son of a bitch, Hugh Jackman. All right, guys. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
I don't know.
Happy Mother's Day.
Oh my God.
All right, guys.
Really
check us out, finalguys.com, at Final Guys on Twitter, Facebook, the whole shebang.
Tell us what you thought of this movie. People need to comment on our blog or on YouTube or wherever you can talk to us. I want to hear what other people thought of this movie.
Right, and we'll fight our positions.
Actually, yeah, this is for YouTube only. All you guys in the chat right now, your writing goes away when the video posts. So if you have anything you want to add about what you thought of the movie or how much of assholes we are, put in the comments when the video goes up, and I will shit on you there as well.
There we go. Double shits.
All right, guys. Next week we are watching the original, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So be ready. It's going to be interesting. It's
Love it.
All right, people. We will talk to you later.
Be kind to your mommy.
Oh, my God.